Well, g'day everyone. Two Ordinary Cops, and we're back again. And Damo has just done it again, haven't you, Damo?
Sorry, mate, can't resist. Yeah, no, can't, the old countdown just makes me laugh, and I have to say something offensive. But yeah, we're back, mate. We're back, and
We are, mate.
I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Only one bloke could get me to wear a cap. I either wear a wide brim hat because I'm a dead set ranger, or I don't wear anything. And Big Camo Sauce has got me wearing a cap. So Big Camo, send another box of sauce, mate, because dead set, no one else can get me to wear a cap. So well done. And they are elephant size, like Schultzy just said. So even the big rigs out there, they'll fit your noggin. So it's all good.
Well,
Yeah.
they will, mate. Like you've got a big melon head,
Oh, she's
whereas
annoying.
me, mate, I've got a skinny head, and like I've got a bit of free gap up the top.
Little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, mate, I've got a bit of breathing space.
But yeah,
Um,
no,
but there'll
definitely.
be more to that at the end, mate. And we've got plenty of other stuff. We've been inundated by calls and messages and all that sort of stuff. We'll go into a bit of that at the end. But, mate, first of all, we'll give a shout out to Benjamin. Basically, he's moving up to the NT to join the police, I think, in August this year.
From SA, yeah?
Yeah, from South Australia.
Yep.
So, yeah, mate. And he just asked us. He said, any advice for somebody moving up? He's 21. And anyway, I basically just mentioned. I said, oh, you listen to this episode. But he wants to know more about what the NT is like. So Northern Territory. I suppose it is a big eye opener to a lot of people, and we haven't. We've spoken bits and pieces about what the NT is like, but I think it'd be good to go into a bit of detail on especially the different areas of
Yeah.
the Northern Territory. Mate, so I'm going to hand it over to you. You had a great idea. We might just start up at Darwin. I mean, that's where our first, I suppose, experience were. Mine was in Katherine. I think I was in Katherine about a month before I went up to Darwin to do the college. And even that was amazing. I came from Thursday Island and Cairns. And geez, I'll tell you what, Catherine was just a whole new level. Um,
As a civvy, as
yeah,
a civilian, yeah.
yeah. So mate, I'll go into that a bit more when we talk about Catherine. But mate, do you want to start off in Darwin? What, like you'd probably been up there before, I imagine, but just give people an idea of what Darwin's like.
Yeah, you know what I love about this is nothing to do with policing. This is just talking about the Northern Territory because it is different. It's unique in Australia, and I still love the place. Like I really do. I still. When we went back at the end of 2024, I felt at home. There's the reason I really like the NT, and just as a generalisation of the NT, is it's just very relaxed. Um, People from North Queensland get it as well. Northern WA get it too. There's something about the tropics you can't take life too seriously because it's just too hot. So it just, I think that's what it was. So we landed in Darwin. I flew into the NT. I can tell you the date. It was the 24th of February 2007. That was my second time having been up to Darwin. But yeah, we flew in, and it was February, so it was bloody hot. And I remember getting off. I'd gone from Toowoomba to Brisbane in that morning and caught the flight, and I landed up there mid-afternoon or whatever it was, and got off and got hit with a wall of wet, hot. Like you get off the aircraft and you're in you go through the gate and you're walking up but it's open, the little walkway that goes up into the terminal, and it's mesh, so it's secure, but it's open air, and it was just hot. Like it was debilitating. I was sweating my ass off when I got in the terminal. And that was it, like, holy shit, that is humidity. Like that, the air is thick. It's thick to breathe. And that's more in the wet season, and especially in November. It was actually way worse in November, December when that build-up period goes. But straight away, you just realise that everything's set up for it. So you go into the terminal and it's fully air conditioned. It's nice and cool. You walk outside and it hits you again like a wall. And then you go out and you get in your car and away you go. But we drove through, and what I really liked was the places. It seems open. I don't know that coming off out of the airport and driving out McMillan's Road and down that way. It was big wide roads with grass on either side of it, and quite open. And then you see bushland, but it's tropical bushland, so it's pandanus and all this sort of stuff. And then yeah, I get to the we got to the college, and everything's built for the tropics. So the idea is that you shouldn't live on aircon all the time. So everything's really ventilated. So the buildings are built to breathe really well, because you get used to that heat and you actually learn to love it.
Yeah.
Like you learn to really embrace it. You just sweat. Everyone sweats all the time. Just how it is. Some of the best times sitting around having beers outside and it's bloody 35 degrees and 90% humidity and you're just dripping. But you don't care. You're just having beers and everyone's in the same boat. But I think Darwin especially it's now a very much metropolitan city. It's got all the service. It's got excellent services. I remember being up there when we were up there last, and we went to Chemist Warehouse, and we'd go to these other places, and they're just huge and well serviced, and all the rest of it. Very very relaxed place. So we went to Mitchell Street, plenty of times early on as well, but it's a very chilled out outside place. So you always sit outside and you sit out and you're hot and sweaty, and that's how it is. But people are pretty laid back. You wear thongs everywhere. When I wasn't on duty wearing long pants and a police uniform, or plainclothes attire for plainclothes work, it was shorts, t-shirt, and thongs. That's everywhere, and that's everyone. So everyone dresses like that. If you want to be anonymous in Darwin, you drive a white Hilux Ute, white dual cab Hilux Ute. Description of vehicle. Yeah, it was a white Hilux dual cab. Oh, for Christ's sake. Yeah, no worries. Thanks. So everyone drives a bloody four-wheel drive. It's a very there's a lot of tradies, and even people who don't work as tradies, like blokes and women as well. A real fishing culture, a very outdoor culture, and a very friendly, welcoming culture, because a lot of people who live in the NT aren't from the NT, so it's also a very transient population. Talk about like multiculturalism up there. The beauty of the territory is it's very multicultural in that you can get different tastes from all over the world. There's a huge Greek population. Darwin's Greek population is second in Australia only to Melbourne, and I'm pretty sure Melbourne is second in the world only to Athens for the highest Greek population. So that's saying something. And with that, you get all the cultural enrichment. But what I love is they're proud Aussies. They love it. They're really good, just great people. And then there's a huge Southeast Asian influence as well. So you got markets that are just full of everything you can possibly imagine, full of the food, but not just the food. It's all the anything you want, really. All the dress, all the different things that you can buy from those sort of cultures. It's really good like that. And then a very strong Indigenous culture. And the other thing is not just the positive side of the very strong Indigenous culture up there, but you do get to see some of the downsides. You get to see people who struggle with alcohol being kicked out of communities and living on the street. And it's when you got a bloke sitting with no shirt on in Mitchell Street clacking two plastic Coke bottles together like clapsticks because he's trying to get money to buy more grog. So that's in your face up there. Generally not very violent, but you just see it, and you're just not used. You mightn't be used to seeing that if you're from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth. So Hobart, rattle them all off. There's that as well, and people up there tend to get used to that sort of thing. So I don't know. That was my experience. It's a very relaxed place. Is the takeaway that I would say. What about
Yeah.
you, mate? How'd you find Darwin?
Well, mate, I went there. Oh, geez, it would have been the first time was on the way over to Bali, I think, when I first headed, and I had to drop through on my way from Cairns, and I just remember we had to spend a couple of hours there, and I remember stepping over bodies passed out on the sidewalk, which
Yeah.
which happens. It happens in anywhere in the territory, especially the big cities, and like you said, the people, the long grasses. They go in for their medical appointment, just sit there and get on the piss, and then they pass out wherever. It's probably a little bit better these days, I think, than what I saw when I first went there, back in the probably early 2000s. Um,
Mm.
but, mate, the other thing that really spun me out, or not really spun me out, but I went back there and it just reminded me. Now, remember, the NT has the highest alcohol intake in Australia per
Yeah.
capita.
Yeah.
So, and
By a
it's
mile.
significantly higher. We
Yeah.
we we raise up there. You raise the national average considerably.
Yeah.
I can't
And we
remember the.
also, the NT used to also get the Ashtray Award for the
Yeah.
largest number of smokers per capita as well. Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and I remember walking down Mitchell Street. It's just after 10 a.m. and even on a Monday, or during the week, and there's already people sitting in the bars having a beer.
yeah.
That's a very common thing, and which is probably why the alcohol consumption's so high.
Oh, yeah.
But like you said, it's more that relaxed place. People sit down, and it's not just people guzzling beer. It's people sitting down having a yarn and just having a drink.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those times, like you said, there's tradies and all that sort of thing, and they're probably going out to a job the next day at one of the communities, so they're just catching up with mates before they fly out the next day. So it's just one of those places, and like you said, you get to meet a whole lot of different people. Yeah, so the NT is, especially Darwin, is very unique like that. But yeah, like I remember Miriam, my partner, when she first flew into there, and she loved it. She just came from Christchurch, where it was basically very low temperatures, and she just walked out and loved it. She thought this is great, feeling that heat and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, she's from the South Island, New Zealand, so it was a complete different temperature change. But up there, mate, if it gets down to 20 degrees, they're already getting their dooners out.
Well, if it gets below 20, it makes the NT news, mate. Right? And
Yeah, that
that's
does.
yeah, it's bloody hilarious. So the Northern Territory, what I do love it. It's quite simple. It's a simple place. People are very friendly. You can walk down Mitchell Street and say g'day, and everyone will say g'day back. It's a big country town. You go to any pub, you can crack up a conversation with anyone, and you'll next minute you'll be in a shout with them. It's good like that. I remember the first time I ever went to Darwin and was in 2002 as a staff cadet at Duntroon. We flew up for an exercise for a week up there where we did a little bit of, basically it was an immersion into a brigade. So we got immersed into the 1st Brigade at the barracks, Robertson Barracks in Darwin, in Palmerston. And we were staying at RAF Base Darwin, and we were basically getting exposed to all the defence places in the top end of the NT. And every morning started about 5:30 a.m. with a brutal PT session, and we had what was called, and everyone understands, Cinderella leave. So from when we knocked off in the afternoon until midnight, Cinderella leave, we could do what we wanted. We were free to just roam the city and do whatever we wanted. But at midnight, one of the directing staff was there marking everyone present. So they had a roll call at midnight, on the playground. It didn't matter what state you were in, as long as you were present. And then it was bed. But at 5:30 in the morning, it was Revelli, and up we got. And we had a Scottish PTI who was attached to one of the units up there at Robertson Barracks, and he'd come out and do PT for us, or conduct our PT, and it was brutal. Every single morning was extreme aerobic fitness, lots and lots of press ups. He was a Scotsman, and it was just wild. So it was self-regulating, but I remember very clearly the Vic Hotel in the Todd Mall. That's Alice Springs, in the Smith Street Mall in Darwin, and it was just brilliant. I remember watching, there were 2 live bands there, and it was just, I went, how vibrant is Darwin? Like, this place is pumping. And I just loved it then. So I had an exposure early, but then when I moved up, I obviously just immersed in it. But yeah, that's Darwin. Like that, the top end of Darwin. You're very much in a metropolitan first world city with a very big NT twist, a very, very relaxed city centre with high-rise buildings and traffic lights and all the, of course, there's traffic lights, but lots of traffic too. The worst 12 minutes of your life is rush hour in Darwin. So, it's at 4:21, that's the time that the public servants all knock off. And there's basically a procession out to Palmerston of vehicles on what's called Tiger Brennan Drive, which is a big road that runs from Darwin, 3 lanes out to Palmerston. And what I used to love, it's legal to drink an open container of alcohol as in a vehicle driving on a public street in the Northern Territory, which sums the joint up. You just got to be under the limit. Now, you're allowed to have a beer on the way home. So everyone's driving out of the city with a beer or a drink of some sort. The women and men, doesn't matter. Everyone's having a beer on the way home. So that was brilliant. That sort of stuff was really cool. And so that's what I loved about Darwin. But mate, obviously we're talking about the Northern Territory, and there's a lot to the Northern Territory. Darwin's just probably the most well known.
Well, mate,
Um,
yeah, and it's probably important you mentioned military because
mm,
you're up there in the army and all that sort of stuff. There's a massive military presence in the Northern Territory, Darwin, especially. And you got to remember, so there's a lot of uh, Air Force and all that they do Operation Blackout and all that sort of thing around Katherine and Darwin and all that
pitch
sort of stuff.
black,
Pitch
exercise
black,
pitch
that's
black.
it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and Darwin airstrip is probably one of the longest airstrips in Australia.
yeah.
And it can actually land a space shuttle on it. It is one of the ones where they
Mm.
can actually land a space shuttle on it. So it has got a lot of infrastructure and
Oh yeah,
very automated infrastructure.
yeah, yep. And actually, speaking of that, so the military presence. I mean, you got the first brigade is based in Darwin, so there's 250,000 roughly people live in Darwin. And no, it's wrong. Sorry, there's 250,000 in the NT.
That's right.
There's just over 100,000 people live in Darwin, and there is a huge military presence, and the defence community is a massive part of that community. So, yeah, there's lots of cool stuff that you do see. So, there's not many major cities where at 11 o'clock at night you will hear multiple fighter jets taking off from the airport.
Yeah,
The other
that's
thing
right.
that's really unique about Darwin Airport is that at midnight, any night of the week, you walk into the terminal, the departure terminal in Darwin Airport, and it's packed. It's absolutely pumping at midnight because all the other major, so Sydney especially, I'm not entirely sure about Melbourne, but Sydney certainly has restrictions from 11, I think, until about 6 a.m., 11 p.m. till 6 a.m. So what happens is all those slots, the Darwin flights going all over the country, basically all leave at midnight. The planes arrive at 11 midnight, roughly there, and they depart from midnight till about 1:30 a.m. So if you get up for a wee in the middle of the night and all you can hear is jets taking off out of Darwin
Yeah,
Airport. So it's, yeah, the busiest time is that middle of the night, those red eye flights heading down south. So that's something that's really unique to the NT.
yeah.
That we all used to whinge about. Oh, goddamn red eye on Jetstar in Brisbane. Like, oh, shit. 4 hours sitting in a stock crate. You
That's
beauty.
right.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, and look, it's just got a great atmosphere,
Mm,
and we love Northern Territory all over. In fact,
yeah.
mate, do you want to go bush or do you want to go down to Katherine?
I reckon we'll
And we
work our
can,
way down the Stewart Highway because the bush areas are very similar. A lot of they've got their own little idiosyncrasies, but they're all pretty similar. Those communities.
yeah,
But yeah, we can work our way down because all four towns that run along the track, as we call it, the Stewart Highway, north to south, they all have their very, very own personalities. So I think Darwin is what it is. It's that tropical capital city, very much metropolitan in the city centre itself. The huge suburban area of Palmerston and the northern suburbs of Darwin, which is just very tropical suburbs. Always shopping. There's bloody every first world amenity you could want is in the NT, especially in Darwin. It's got a bloody huge Bunnings in Palmerston, which I love. Yeah, so that was a place I hung out every Saturday. But yeah, moving down to Katherine, it's got its own little unique sort of personality. So do you want to kick off Katherine, mate?
yeah, mate. So Katherine, when I actually first rocked up in Katherine, I remember getting out. We had to fuel up. We got in late one evening, and this is probably about 3 weeks or so before I actually went up to Darwin to do college. Because my wife at the time, she was a teacher, so that's why we went over a bit earlier. But Catherine, I remember getting out and hearing the arguments of the Indigenous people fighting down the street as we're at the servo, and I'm just going, holy shit, what have we walked into? You would
Yeah.
not hear that anywhere else in Australia, or very rarely. But this is every night in Catherine.
Yeah.
I remember we had a first apartment because it was a teachers' complex was on Bernard Street. Down in just about the Bronx of Catherine, I
Yeah.
suppose. And you get up in the morning and in our carport there's actually blood drops. So
Yeah.
somebody's obviously been in a fight and they've taken cover in our carport. We never heard anything, but
Mm,
yeah. So you get to see a lot of that, especially in that part of town. East side's probably the better part of Catherine, I think, or maybe out to the north up there. But Katherine Town itself is probably it can be very volatile, extremely
Mm.
volatile. So it will really open your eyes up to, especially between when people aren't drinking to when they are.
Yeah.
Um, you'll see, cans lying around. There'll be mess. There'll be people shitting and pissing in public
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm really dressing it down, but Catherine is actually a beautiful town.
Mm.
When things are kicking off, and there's some great things to see. You've got the Catherine River, which then you've got the gorge to go up and have a look at. Funnily enough, I only ever went up the gorge when I'd left the police or when I was on holidays.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really been to many other places until then. You got the caves,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, down at
which
West
is
Tyndall, I can't remember the name. Yeah, the
yeah,
caves, yeah.
yeah. And then you've got hot springs,
Yep.
which is another beautiful spot, and that's
Mm.
right, basically at the river, right in town.
Yeah.
You can go down the hot springs down there. That's really nice. But yeah, Catherine is very unique, and when you talk about Darwin's got about 100,000, Catherine's got about I don't know 10,
10,
probably
yeah.
11,000, something like that.
In the service area, so it covers a massive area. So in the town itself would be less, but I'm not entirely sure without googling it. But yeah, it's it's that big country town. But I mean, yeah, there's problems. There's problems. Northern Territory's got problems. They're simple as that. But the other thing is, a lot of us who lived there for a very long time, even as coppers, we still smile about it because there was good things there too. So Catherine is a great little community. There's a really good community there. There's a very pastoral community. So there's lots of. It is the major centre for the massive cattle stations that everyone knows about. The NT is famous for. So they are millions of acres. Well, they used to certainly be millions of acres. I know they've been chopped up and all the rest of it, but there are still cattle stations branching to the east and west of Katherine that are enormous and employ a lot of people, especially very young people and especially young people from interstate. So I can always sort of tell and they'll tell me as well, but when I run into people down here in northern New South Wales still working in cattle who've done some time in the territory, because they've had to grow up because they're on a huge place and they're given a lot of responsibility at a very young age. Normally 16, 17, 18 years old, they're given a lot of responsibility out on a cattle station to go and do work remotely by themselves or in a small team, but they have to achieve an outcome. So they're really good. They're really good like that. It's an interesting melting pot when you come show weekend and you get all the ringers in all cashed up because they haven't had anything to spend their money on and they've all come to town and all they want's Bundy rum and the opposite sex and probably a punch on, but that's about how it rolls. But or they might want a bull ride or a bronc ride or something like that. So you get that a bit. Look, yeah,
Mate,
there's
I'll just mention something in relation to a lot of the ringers. Just some advice for if you do get stationed to Katherine or anybody that is stationed to Katherine, go round to your bush stations, especially the ones local or out to the west.
talking about your police now. Yeah, coppers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, you just get to meet some great people. You get to meet the head ringers, the bosses of the station, and all that sort of thing, and that will pay dividends when you get the ringers coming in to town.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of times there when and if they don't know the cop, they'll lark up. But as soon as they know the cop and they know that you know their boss, they will calm down and be just a pussycat. So it
Yeah.
just
That's funny.
knowing,
Funny you mentioned that.
yeah,
Rodeo in Katherine, wildest night, just the wildest night. That first Friday night of the show, where they got the show starting, and then it's a bit of a public holiday, and then they've got the rodeo that night, and obviously we're flat out. It's just on, and lots of social order stuff going on. A real melting pot. You've got your townies that can be a bit rough. You've got your Indigenous in from the communities. You've got your ringers in, and sometimes they don't all mix. And you've got them all in one place, and you've got the alcohol flowing hard, and you've got a bit of testosterone with bull riders and all the rest of it. And a lot of people have been out in the bush working hard, and they've come into town, and they're looking to let their hair down pretty well. And I remember we had a group there, and they said the station. I won't mention the station, but they mentioned, "Oh, we're from such and such. Why don't you get a real job?" And they're kids, like they're just gobbing off. Anyway, I said, "Oh, so you'd know such and such," and they all just went. I couldn't, and I only knew him because one of the other fellas had told me they're the manager of that station is this bloke. Just mentioned him because he's a big scary bastard. Oh, so you know him? He's a mate of mine, yeah. So what's your name, mate? Oh no, I didn't mean it. No, no, it's all good. No, we're right. We're sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, but that's just policing shit. But back to
Yeah,
sort of Katherine, and that's just dealing with young fellas. They're full of adrenaline, full of bloody grog. They got a bit of time off. You got to remember these guys live pretty restrictive lives out in those out in those stations.
yeah,
They work very hard. They get up very early. They work all day in stinking heat on motorbikes, on horses, working in yards. Wrestling beasts. They go out and actually catch catch scrub bulls that are out and loose assisted by helicopters. Like they do some wild work. So they work pretty hard. When they come to town with a bit of money in their pocket, they're looking for a good time, and they're very young,
yeah,
19, 20, 21, younger. So
yep.
fair enough. Let
And
your head in it, but come on, sport, pull your head in.
yeah,
It's all good.
and mate, you got to remember too. A lot of those cattle stations are around 1 million acres.
Oh, massive.
So
Yeah,
they're
massive.
absolutely massive
Yeah,
areas. So they're actually tracking over 1 million acres, bringing these cattle in
yeah,
hot, very trying conditions.
yeah.
You got to make sure you got your water and all that sort of thing. So it's a tough gig.
Yeah, yeah,
Very.
bloody hell. To the point where there are yards all over those stations because they're just massive. So they will drive out for hours and hours, potentially a day's drive to get to a stock camp where they're going to then muster an enormous paddock into a set of yards that's very remote, and they're going to have remote camps, remote camp cooks. Basically, they set up to camp out there potentially for a week to run through, mark and bloody and dip and carry on all the work you have to do with cattle. They will do that out in the middle of nowhere, and they'll just have to get it done. And they probably won't have a shower for a week. If you're lucky and you really want to wash down before you go to bed, you go and lie down in the trough. But God help you, if you use a bar of soap in there, you get your head punched in by the head stockman. So get in there and basically rinse off the salt and sweat and then dry off in the air and then chuck your ringer gear back on that'll still stink and then go back to work. They work bloody hard and it's character building stuff. So
Yeah, and they
that's more the outskirts of Katherine. But yeah, Katherine itself. I mean, I've actually just sold my house in Katherine. I don't think I've even told you that. So yeah, so we bought a house. We built a house in Katherine. It's a great spot.
It
Yeah,
is. Yeah, mate. There's a lot of fantastic people that live there. And look, mate. Talking about the weather, you'll get from the build up. It's like a bloody sauna.
oh
It
mate,
literally is. I remember trying to write a ticket on the side of the highway, and I had to sit there and go, "Just hold on a minute." I had to sit because I couldn't write. There's so much sweat coming off. This is back in the paper ticket days,
yeah,
and I actually couldn't. The paper with the ticket was getting saturated by my sweat, so I had to sit in the aircon in the
yeah,
car and write out the ticket. So it gets extremely hot and muggy. It
yeah.
is just phenomenal.
Yeah, so
Um,
Katherine is the bottom end of the top end, basically. It's the biggest major town in the top end still. The top end kind of ends at Daly Waters, which is down the track a little bit further, but the lowest major town, the furthest south major town that's still got a tropical climate is Katherine, but it doesn't have a sea breeze. So
no,
Darwin's got a sea breeze. Catherine's just a bloody furnace. In November, December, it's just hot. It's just unfun, and you just can't. I remember I always used to wear a Jackie House singlet underneath my uniform. This is back in the khaki days, and you could see the outline of the singlet for all the sweat on the khaki shirt. And at the end of the day, you'd take that off. If you'd been inside in the aircon for a while, typing jobs up or whatever else, once you went in and had a shower and washed off the day, I'd take that off, and quite often it was almost solid with salt. It was just, oh, yeah, that's cool. You get used to it. Like, you don't care. You get used to it.
no.
But it's just so different to where I live now. Like, now I'm sitting here with a jacket and I'm still shaking, it's cold. But
Well,
yeah, you just don't experience cold in the territory. On the
no.
top
Well,
end, sorry, not the top end.
it,
Yeah.
no. It's at Catherine. Catherine sometimes in winter or in the dry season will get down to close to zero. There are times when it really
Well, the
gets down.
lowest I ever saw it, I'm not saying it doesn't go lower, but the lowest I ever saw it in Katherine was 7 degrees. And I thought
Yep.
my throat was cut because my house, the house that we built in Katherine East, was certainly designed for hot, It was designed with fans and big louvered walls and all the rest of it, and it was beautiful. You get a nice breeze, and it was just sensational. But there's no reverse cycle air conditioners up there. They're all cold and cold only,
Yeah.
and it was freezing. Like you got to remember, 7 degrees is -30 for a top ender.
Yeah.
So it was just freezing. But yeah,
And
and
mate,
I know that's not freezing because it would be 2 degrees here right now, and I'm sitting in a shed, and it was
yeah.
fine. But I'm used to it. Whereas in the territory, you're
Yeah.
used to sweating, and all of a sudden it's cold. So
Well,
yeah,
mate, I remember one night where I think it was actually 6 degrees that morning. And it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We got called out to a car fire, and this car was fully ablaze. Anyway, we're going, oh, geez, this is nice and warm, and we're not getting too close. But we probably you can feel the heat at 50 meters away.
oh yeah,
It was really going. So we're going, oh yeah, this is nice and warm. And then of course, bloody the fuel tank exploded. And
yeah.
then
Oh, it
we
just
had a
got warmer. Oh, lovely.
well. There's a group of us, and we're sitting there watching over it while the fireys are doing their work. And there's a conrod or something out of the engine going flying down the road and actually gone between us all. And then
Yeah,
we thought, oh, maybe we're just a little bit too close to this.
would have been a shock absorber strut. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it would have been. I'm a firefighter these days, mate. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, there you
But,
go.
yeah. So
Yeah,
there's a lesson. When you have a car fire, just stay a little bit away from it because
yeah.
they can be quite dangerous, and they go
Oh
up in a
yeah.
blaze too.
Oh yeah. And keep you warm on a cold night.
That's
Well,
right.
mate, speaking about cold nights, why don't we go down the track again? Because I did a
Yep.
bit of time in the desert, which started in the Barkly region in Tennant. 2012, I moved from Katherine down to Tennant Creek in a CIB role. I know you stayed up in the tropics, mate, but I went south and I created your party town.
You did,
So
mate. Yeah.
yeah, so
Good old
Tennant
Tennant
Creek.
Creek.
Yeah, so Tennant Creek is located almost geographically in the dead centre of the Northern Territory. So if you want to talk about the town that's in the middle of Australia, it's obviously Alice Springs. But if you want to talk about the town in the middle of the Northern Territory, it's Tennant Creek. And Tennant Creek is an eye-opener. Like I'd come from Katherine, I'd been there 4.5 years, so I certainly knew what rough was. But driving into Tennant, it's a different level. It's very in your face because it's much smaller. We're talking a town with absolutely no more than 3,000 people, and that ebbs and flows a little bit. But less businesses, lots of government services, and a high high Indigenous population in the town itself. And it is, you drive in, especially if you get there after business hours, and it's just shutters. There's just roller shutters down in front of every glass panel. There's razor wire around all the caravan parks, which doesn't give you a great first impression of Tennant. I know my first impression wasn't great. We arrived in February 2012, and my wife had moved down 6 weeks earlier as a school teacher and taken up her job, but she was living in a temporary, like a teaching quarters next to the high school. So I went there first, and then we had our house and we did our removal and all the rest of it. But house was pretty basic. But it was the first time I felt that dry heat in the NT because in the top end it's humid heat. But you get down to Tennant and you're not in the deep desert yet. You're in the Barkly region, so you haven't got that really red desert country. But you got those Gibber style, brushy Tennant Creek, Spinifex, Barkly region. And yeah, lots of in-your-face social order stuff in the main street because there's not a lot of places in the town to go. So my first impression was, what have I done? Like Katherine, I could handle Katherine. I wouldn't turn up in Tennant, but what you dig under the surface of that. So what your first impression is not great of Tennant Creek. We've got to be honest here. Like it's not a pretty town. You drive through it and go, what a shithole. That's what you think when you drive through Tennant. But when you live there, you get to know the business owners and the people who've been there for years. There's a very strong mining history in Tennant Creek, and there's still a big hangover from that. There's no mining there now. I think it's kicked off a little bit with a bit of gas export and stuff like that. But there's all that mining infrastructure is still there. But the families can remember all that. And when you've been there a little while, and you go to catch up with people. You go to the pub, you get to know everyone pretty quickly, especially if you live there, and you realise that they are the most welcoming people you've ever met. Like they just, oh, we're having a barbecue. Why don't you bring your wife around and bring your kids or whatever else, and bring all your mates, and we'll have a barbecue there. And anyway, it's a very, very friendly place for the people who are, workers. The workers in the place are extraordinarily friendly. There is an extremely high crime rate, and it's right in your face. So that exists as well. But the backbone of the town that keeps it ticking along and keeps the petrol stations running and the cafes open and all the private businesses and the IGA and all the rest of it. And your government workers like your health staff and all your police, your ambos, your school teachers. You get all those people together and you have a really good time because you're all out there in the middle of nowhere, mostly away from family, and as a result, it's extremely social. So it's a really good spot to go if you're young, footloose, fancy free. You're going to deal with some wild stuff, but it's really social. You'll probably, if you go there as a young person, meet your partner because that's what generally happens. So it's a really good underbelly of the town. Once you break through that crusty surface, there's a real spirit and a real character to that town, and that's what I found there. Tennant. Well, your party town, mate. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, mate. So I used to go down there, and look, mate, it was always a long drive because I was at Ramagini at the time. I can't even remember how long it was. I think it was an 8-hour drive or something like that. So I used to leave at probably about bloody 4 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning and head down on a Friday, and that way I could spend time with you guys over the weekend and catch up when you're knocked off. Sometimes you're working, and then I got my overtime and all that sort of stuff. But Tennant Creek was, mate, I loved it. It was just that relaxed last frontier sort of place where you really did get to know people, and you'll make some lifelong friends in that location. I was only there for bits and pieces, just going down there to drink, basically, because of course I was in a dry community. So I used to I haven't got any hair to let down, but I used to, let my hair down, so to speak. Mate, one of the other funny ones, I reckon, and I think we've mentioned this before, we probably should touch on it again when we're going to get grog that day. And we heard a call. I think you had a radio in the car or something, and there was a woman with a knife. And
no. So we didn't have a radio because I was off duty. So what had happened was we just turned up at the bottle shop to get a carton of beer to go home and have a beer. And there was a woman out the front with a knife threatening everybody.
That's right.
And anyway, we both got out of the car because we're just going to get a carton and go home. And we're like, hey, missus, you good? And she's yelling and screaming and carry on. And I looked at you and you looked at me and it's like, we got her, she'll be right. And I remember we both just instinctively sort of moved forward. Once she was distracted a bit, we distinctively moved forward. And I can't remember who did what, but we ended up grabbing her arm and just calming her down. So it wasn't a fight. It was just, hey, missus, we isolated the weapon. And then we said, yeah, let go of that one, eh? Just police here, look, just calm down, you'll be right. Anyway, so we disarm her, and then she was a bit cranky about the fact she lost a knife. And then I'm pretty sure we ground stabilised her just as the police car turned up. So, and I'll never forget that. It was me good old mate, I'll mention his name because he's a Tennant Creek legend, Phil Lum. He's ex-Victorian police, has done God knows how many years in Tennant Creek now. And he gets out, cigarette, lights a smoke, walks over, whacks the cuffs on and goes, geez, well done, boys, good work. And, what's your name, mate? Oh, I'm Schultzy from Ramagini. Good to meet you. It was just great. So anyway, we did that. We walk inside, grab a carton of beer and walk out and jump in. I go, welcome to Tennant, Schultzy. Disarm a bloody a knife-wielding crazy woman out the front of the pub in order to go through and buy a carton so we can go home and have a beer around the fire. It was great.
Yep. And also just to touch on, and Katherine's a little bit this way as well, but you really get to know the fireys and the nurses and medical staff there as well, and a lot of the teachers. You get more ingrained, I think, there with all the different agencies that are in Tennant Creek, and like I said, mate, lifelong friends.
And far more in Tennant than other places like Darwin.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard. There's so many staff and all the rest of it. Katherine was pretty good, but Tennant Creek, I mean, they're just, the Ambos are coming and, it's Rob and Amy, how you going? Like, it's like that, it's a very small place. Actually, I remember one funny story. I think you're involved. Pretty sure you're involved.
Probably
It
was.
involves alcohol. We were a lot younger and we drink. So the the rosters were slightly offset from memory. So one of the staff was a good mate of ours that was a paramedic. I won't mention his name, but anyway, he gets on the phone to us, and we'd had a bit of a bender on our last night. We'd been out in the town, and none of us had kids. We're all, we were married, or some were married, some were single, but we didn't have many children. We're pretty young. And anyway, we'd had a big night, and he rings us 8 in the morning and goes, "Boys, I've just finished night shift. We're going for a beer today." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, we got on the booze last night. We can't. Oh, blah, blah." And he's like, "I don't want to hear no for an answer." So he goes, "Meet me at this bloke's place, and all be there. And just do it. Just trust me." We're like, "Oh, we'll go and do it for this fella." So we all turn up there, and he gets out of his car, and he's holding these IV bags full of what's called Hartmann's liquid, which for those not in the know, it's basically Gatorade for your arm. So it's electrolytes and all the rest of it in saline solution. And he comes in, he goes, "Right, we're all getting a litre and a half of Hartmann's up the arm." And he also had this ondansetron. So basically ondansetron, everyone in the medical profession will know what it is. It's a drug that is given to chemo patients to stop them from vomiting. It's an
And
anti-nausea drug.
pregnant women.
Pregnant
Yep.
women, yeah, my wife had a
Yep.
lot of it. So it's an anti-nausea drug. So he turns up with ondansetron and Hartmann's liquid. So anyway, he whacks an IV into our arms at our mate's place, and it's amazing. It's nice and cold, and it was just instantly feeling good. And then he gives us
Yep.
this tablet, and within about 20 minutes, it's just sticking under your tongue and it dissolves. And we were just tickety boo, like jobs on. It was instant hangover relief. And he's like, "Righto, boys, you come for a beer?" I was like, "Yep." And
Yep.
away we went. It was,
And
oh, God bless the
mate,
paramedics.
I do remember. I won't mention his name, but there was another copper there while he's still on the drip, and he cracked a beer while still on the
He
drip.
did. Yeah, he's sitting there with a drip in his arm having a beer. Yeah, bloody good man. It was a wild show. But I mean, you couldn't do that now. You wouldn't be allowed to do that now. And it wasn't like, there's plenty of that there. It's pretty cheap equipment. It's not like that stuff costs a lot. And it builds morale. It builds teamwork, because I guarantee you, if you hear a paramedic in danger, mate, you're going to drive the rims off that police car to get there. And same thing,
Yep.
if a paramedic hears a police officer's injured, they're going to drive the rims off that ambo to get there. We work on the same jobs. We were forever we're going job to job to job, and we were turning up at the same jobs, dealing with injuries. We were forever holding bags up for paramedics. We were forever doing chest compressions in full CPR while paramedics were getting lines into bodies. In Tennant Creek as well. I did a
Yep.
lot of that in Darwin, but I also did one in Tennant Creek. So, we did all that stuff. We worked together doing wild shit. So as a result, we let our hair down a bit, and that to me should be accepted. So yeah,
Well,
it was.
it builds that camaraderie that we've spoken about, and you go to the job. You are far more efficient going to those jobs because you know people. You've already worked so well amongst them that you know your job as soon as you get to a job. And whether you're on the piss or off the piss doing jobs, you build up that morale and that camaraderie, and you just know each other
Yeah.
inside out. You just need to give them a sideward glance, and they'll know exactly what you're thinking.
Oh yeah.
It means that when you do get a high risk situation, you're 100 times more efficient.
Oh yeah.
So people can knock it all they want, but I'll tell you what, when you get all the troops going to those jobs, it is probably one of the most efficient operations you'll ever see anywhere in the world.
Yeah, and the classic example there was a car accident, because it's an all services call. So we turn up there, we do our thing. We basically always run the scene for security reasons. Like, we just secure the scene, and then all the specialisations do their job. So the ambos are focused on patients. The fireys are focused on physical safety. So the fact that the car's not going to catch fire, the fact that the road is clear of flammable liquid, all of that physical, there are substances there that can hurt you. The fireys are going to look after that. And when it comes to isolating the scene and keeping everyone else safe, that's the cops. And then what happens is, once the specialised guys, once the ambos have got their patients, they're out of there. Once the fireys have secured the scene, cut the battery, done whatever they need to do, happy they put a bit of foam down, the fire's not going to kick off, they're done. and we get left holding the baby. So
Yep.
it's all like, because it's our scene then to investigate. So those guys do their specialised role, and that's why we take the piss out of each other. It's like, oh, did you have fun
Yeah.
at that crash for the 30 seconds you were there, Chief, or what? I was there for 8 hours, motherfucker. So,
And then I had to write the report at the end.
yeah, that's right. And I revert back to my old mate Crystal, who was the senior station officer in Katherine. Yep, who's the dickhead? So,
Yeah.
Oh, no, it was so good. But yeah,
Yeah, mate.
that was Tennant Creek, mate. It was very, very close knit, under a lot of work, a lot of social dysfunction, a lot of government services, a black hole of government money, Tennant Creek, and that's just honest, mate. That's just how it is. It's a very dysfunctional place, but there were people there making a living, and who were just fantastic people. They're just such a good place in that regard.
Mate, some of my best memories are Tennant Creek,
Yeah,
and it goes without a doubt. You and I spent a day there once. You were off duty. I was driving Mum and Dad up because Dad just had a heart operation, and we
yeah,
stopped there and we just had that little smoker going all day. It was pretty cold. It must have been in
yeah,
winter, June, July, or something like
yeah.
that.
It would have been.
Dry season. They don't call it winter up there. Yeah, we sat there just all day, yarning, having a beer, just slowly having, probably one or two an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, just one of the best days, relaxed.
Oh, it was,
Yeah,
mate. That's so critical because I used to, mate. We work our ass off in Tennant Creek, so it was proper work hard, play hard, Tennant Creek.
yeah,
So yeah, that was a really good thing to do. Just be able to let your hair down and catch up. But yeah, no, mate. Tennant Creek was wild. I had some wild jobs in Tennant Creek.
yeah,
Very limited number of police resources, especially, which may sound amazing considering the town's so small. But yeah, 1,500 to 2,000, 3,000 people at the tops, and 50 cops, three dedicated CIB detectives, so your serious crime detectives, and I think a three-person DV unit, domestic violence unit. So it was wild, absolutely
yeah,
wild. Yeah.
yeah, mate, for sure. Mate, do you want to move down a bit further?
Oh, we can
Because
go south if you want. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can go south if you want. Yeah,
Well, mate, for a little bit, Alice Springs was a bit of my party town when you moved down there. I
yeah.
don't know. The party just seemed to be where you were.
Oh, well, funny that. So Alice Springs, we've done a whole episode on Alice Springs. That was talking about policing in Alice, but it didn't really talk about living in Alice. So my wife actually really liked Alice Springs. So the town itself is actually visually spectacular. You come into this absolute red desert, like what you think of when people say, "What's the desert look like?" Well, if you've got plants in that desert, it looks like Alice Springs. If you think in the Arabian desert with rolling sand, not so much, but it is proper deep desert. Very, very hot in summer, and then extremely cold overnight in winter, but then really nice days through winter. We used to say 6 months of the year in Alice Springs is the best climate in Australia. It's just absolutely beautiful. It was cool enough that you weren't hot, but it was also warm enough and there was plenty of sun, and it was just beautiful. A really nice place. Plenty of services, plenty of history. I really loved some of that deep desert culture. Like it was, talk about old houses that were built there, 100 years ago, and they're just awesome. They're really old school, set up for hot and cold, and they're really cool like that. There was really good indigenous culture down there. If you dug through the fucking dysfunction, if you dug through that, you got that really good deep desert Aboriginal culture. It was really pure, very pure, especially in the communities just outside. But mate, Alice Springs is an extremely dangerous town, and it just is. Living there, it's something like the highest probability of a home invasion is Alice Springs. Carjacking, Alice Springs. The homicide rate at one point was not just the highest in Australia, it was the highest in the Southern Hemisphere or some shit outside of South Africa. Like, it was just insane. Like, it was a it is a very dysfunctional town in a lot of ways. And unfortunately, that is massively due to a lot of Indigenous issues in that town.
Yeah.
Of course, they're not all the criminals. Of course, they're not. But it's overwhelmingly that way inclined, unfortunately. And look, this is objective fact. It just is what it is. If you want to argue, go and sit in at midnight in the Todd Mall and see how long it takes to get bashed and mugged.
Yep.
That is the fact. By probably 30 Indigenous youths. That's what's going to happen. So it's upsetting. It is a very violent place. It's got a lot of problems, but it's also so upsetting because it is just spectacular, and it's also got that history of pushing out into the bush and exploration, and there's a lot of good history there as well. But yeah, mate, Alice Springs, from our point of view, from policing, I've never felt so overwhelmed. I've mentioned this in our previous episode. I've never felt so overwhelmed as a general duties police officer than I did in Alice Springs. It's just extreme job to extreme job. So they're standing you down on what would be considered a Code 1 job in Queensland. So I know that I was talking to the Queensland guys, a Code 1 job is something that just, you might get that 2 or 3 times in your career. We're getting them shift by shift. They were just constant. Like there's people bleeding out and dying right now. Go. And then they're going, 451, stand down. We've got an active person stabbing people at this camp. Turn and go that way. It was just insane. And then you turn up and just the injuries to humans, the fucking trauma, the physical trauma to bodies that I saw all over the territory. But Alice Springs, mate, it was public. I didn't go to the job, but a bloke at the Coles bus stop got his arm hacked off with a machete at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There were school kids around. Yeah, that's what happened. And listen, that's the fact. That is a fact. Yep. So people can go, you say it, but fact. This happened in Australia, and that's not acceptable.
No.
So mate, Alice Springs has got a long way to go.
Definitely. And like I said, mate, there's some great places to visit out there. And it is, the scenery down there is fantastic. There's some great drinking establishments as well. They've got the races and all that sort of stuff. They've got all the infrastructure. But yeah, it is very volatile.
Yeah.
But mate, I reckon. You just reminded me. So Borroloola was one. Talk about machetes. For some reason, out at Borroloola, they love using machetes. How many times did you rock up at a job there where people were carrying machetes and you had to talk them down and all that sort of stuff? And I remember one guy got sliced just down the side of the head and 50 stitches. From a thing, and this stuff happens. It happens all the time. Yeah. Whether it makes the news or not is a different matter, and not a lot of it does. Yeah. So, and this is why people, so going back to Alice Springs, they're talking about all the media and all that. Alice Springs has just gone out of control. It's always been out of control. It's just the fact that the media are reporting on it.
It's been out of control for a very long time, but my mother-in-law lived there in the 60s and 70s, and she said it was just some of the most golden memories of her life were out there because it was so social and so safe. It is just, sure, it's still relatively social, but the constant thought in your head is safety in Alice Springs. Are we going to be okay if we go there? Are we going to be okay if we go here? It is a very dangerous place, and that is no exaggeration.
Yeah. And mate, I mean, you're talking about. I'll just move on to probably Borroloola. That'd be one. So we're going probably a bit more in the outskirts and all that sort of thing, and we'll do a quick brief on each of them. Borroloola, it would get cold in the dry. You had a bit more of a sea breeze, although you were a bit inland from the coast. But you got the
hot as a bastard. Who are you trying to kid? It was as hot as the fires of hell.
Yeah, well, in saying that. It used to get up to 40, 46 degrees. Yeah. I remember I was running at the time because I was still right into my fitness, and 44 degrees, I'm going for a run in the afternoon. Yeah. It's, and you just, people just, down here in in Brisbane, if it gets above 39, they're going, there's a massive heat wave. It happened all the time in Borroloola. But one thing, so talking about the dry heat, and Borroloola just spun me out. I did washing one day and I hung it up on the line. And as I moved around and I put the last bit up, the first shirt that I put up was dry already. Yeah. That's how dry it is. Yeah. It is as dry
during the dry season. That's how dry it is.
Yeah.
And hot. I did the same thing in Lajamano. I remember saying that. I had to do washing, and my clothesline was a rope. So I had a rope tied between a satellite dish and a fence post. and I hung everything up. I didn't even hang it up. I just slopped it over the rope. And same thing when it was so hot and dry and a little bit breezy. And yeah, same thing. I'd go back to the front and go, shit, that's dry, and away you go. So yeah, you'd hang your clothes out for about 4 minutes, and they were all completely sweet, and away you go. Whack it
Yeah,
inside, and the job's right.
but
So yeah,
it's like a very volatile town.
yeah, another rough town. Yeah,
Extremely.
Borroloola.
Mate, I do have a funny one. You're talking
Yeah,
about the cold, how it never got. It did get cold there. There was one. There was a couple of days, and it was court was on anyway. And anyway, I'll mention him. It was Kavanagh. Greg Kavanagh had come down. He was a magistrate. He's retired now, so he won't mind me mentioning him. I'll probably get a phone call from him if he listens to this. But anyway, the head DP gave me a call, Richard, and he goes, Schultzy, the magistrate's just wondering if you've got a jacket because it was so bloody cold down there. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, for him, I'll get him my best jacket. So I went up to the Savannah Way and dropped it off, Anyway, next day I'm prosecuting in court, and the magistrate's sitting up there in my jacket
yeah. How was
doing
that?
court.
I'd like to thank Sergeant Phelps for his
Yeah,
warm
yeah.
reply. Yeah, well done. We just do what you need to do for humans out in the bush. You do it for
Yeah,
anyone. I don't care if you're a magistrate. You're cold, mate. I got a jumper for you. Simple as that.
that's
It's
right. Yeah, but
yeah,
and it was just unexpected to be that cold down there.
yeah.
It was actually quite cool. Yeah, and of course, yeah, you need a jacket. Yeah, we'll get. And he didn't bring one down because he didn't expect to need one.
Well, he hadn't
So
needed one for the last 20 years when he went to Borroloola.
yeah,
Why would anything have changed? Yeah. No, look, Borroloola is actually talking about outside the town. So yeah, a lot of jobs. It's a wild place. It is what it is. But the MacArthur River is awesome, as far as
yep,
full of crocodiles, but full of barramundi too. And King Ash Bay, off closer along the MacArthur River, but closer to the coast, is a privately owned privately sort of established fishing village wherever there's freehold blocks there that people can buy and live there, or just have holiday houses there. And it was a breath of fresh air for us because you could get out, go and have a beer and have a feed and all the rest of it, and you were sort of out of the community for a while. Borroloola at night is extremely loud. So at night time, we used to lie down in bed, and luckily the aircon was a bit noisy because otherwise all you can hear is boom, 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 boom from speakers with bass music. And then you'll hear the music maybe go off. And if you listen carefully, and in the dry season, we used to crack the windows open and it was nice and cool. But you'd hear screaming. You'd hear all this yelling and screaming in a big fight, and then the bloody phone would go off, and there's a big all-in drunken brawl in one of the camps, and that was life. That was how it was out there. So it was. There were very positive sides to being out there, and don't get me wrong, you're still mixing it with all the other crew, and there's some great people who lived out there. But yeah, those camps were dysfunctional. They were drunken, dysfunctional places, and yeah, there was. Oh, it was loud, mate. It was dead set
yep.
loud. Yeah.
Well, and talking about the community spirit there, like when I was out there because I was single when I was out there, and I had a great house. It was built right back in the 70s, I think, or 80s. Absolutely fantastic. Great for wind flow. So you hardly use your air conditioner, only probably for about 3 or 4 months a year, if that, because you just had ceiling to floor louvers,
Yeah.
which would catch the breeze. It was fantastically, and then underneath was a big concreted area, with carport and just a massive dining area, which outdoors, and it was perfect. It didn't matter whether it was rain, hail, or shine. And I used to have a Sunday breakfast every Sunday, just about. And you get the nurses, you get the fireys, you get the teachers, other council workers, and all that, and they will come round to my place at about 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock sometimes on a Sunday morning, and mate, a lot of time we used to crack your first beer. It was almost a champagne breakfast. And yeah, but it was great. You just catch up underneath my place, and sometimes you'd be there till 2 or 4 in the afternoon,
Yeah.
just catching up with people. It wasn't stupid drinking; it was just good camaraderie, talking to people, passing information. Geez, you'd solve crimes under my house,
Oh yeah.
just different information you got. So you do get that really close knit community, and you make lifelong friends. And it's a bit like what you're talking about in Tennant Creek. It's
Yeah.
just that next level working with all different agencies.
Yeah, yep. So, mate, yeah, just to sort of recap, they're a major place. I know you lived in other communities. A lot of the communities were very similar. There was, I mean,
Yeah,
Ramo, a dry community. Like you've got your working staff there, and you sort of they're your relief a bit, and then you're busy. In those little communities, they're very dysfunctional. Your government services are just flogged. Really, they are flogged when they're at work. So they need that time just to pull back a bit. So, there was a lot of that, but I think we've summarised it pretty well. Darwin's pretty standard. Like it's a big city. It's not comparable to a major capital city. It's comparable to somewhere like Cairns. Darwin and Cairns are very similar, I find. Cairns is slightly bigger, but yeah, Darwin's very much like that. You've got very much first world amenities and all the rest of it. Katherine, good knockabout rough town with a territory twist, but a very a livable sort of town. Tennant Creek, rough town, pretty rough town, in your face. But when you crack through, especially if you live there, an excellent underbelly, like an excellent community underneath the rough facade. Alice Springs, same thing, like a really good community there, especially a long lineage community. A lot of deep Indigenous culture as well. But the safety factor has become a major issue for people in Alice Springs. That it's not a relaxing place anymore because of how dangerous the place is. And I found that Alice Springs was very full on.
yeah,
And all of the communities very similar. It's very, very work hard, play hard to a point if you can in your compound, and then go and leave. It's basically how a lot of those places were for just like first world survival sort of thing. They're rough places, mate. You can't sugarcoat it. I can sit here and lie, or I can sit here and tell you how it is. They are, yeah, you will get some really incredible experiences. You'll meet incredible people, incredible Indigenous elders. You'll meet them out in the bush. But you're going to see a shit ton of problems, and that's just fact. I'm sorry, that's how it is. So,
yep,
very, very violent, especially if you're in paramedics. If you're a paramedic, nurse, or anything medical or anything in law enforcement, you are going to see trauma like you wouldn't believe. Stabbings, bad assaults. That's just par for the course. But yeah, look, there are definitely places that are just excellent, like as well. It's a very full-on place to live.
it's probably one of those ones where you'll see some of the worst things you've ever seen in your life, but you'll see some of the best as well.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. Yeah,
some of the best of the community. So you really gotta take it as it comes
yeah.
and just enjoy the good. And mate, look, to tell you the truth, even though you're overwhelmed and all that, we love talking about it.
Oh, mate,
If it's,
I'm a bit
it's
older now. It sounds exhausting, but looking
yeah,
back, when we were there, it was just par for the course. It was entertaining. It was bloody wild. It was
yeah,
shit. We're really important. We've got a very important job to do here. Like, this is a wild show.
yeah,
So we're like times that oh my god, I feel so alone. Oh my
yeah.
god, I need 50 more people. So things
Well,
like that happened.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
It's the reason why they say policing in the Northern Territory 1 year is worth 3 years, just about in any other
yeah.
jurisdiction
And we
because
didn't
it
coin
is.
that.
Yeah,
We've had other people say we've heard that from a number of different independent sources where they go 1 year in the territory is 3 years anywhere else, and it would make sense with the number of jobs per person that you go to, and
yeah,
especially the severity. It's just wild. But the thing is, the question we look back and go, do we regret living in the Northern Territory, Schultzy?
no,
God no,
loved it.
loved it, mate. So glad I did it. So
Yep,
glad I lived there. It just it matures you living in a
it
place like that.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like the last frontier, mate. And look, some of my best memories will be in the Northern Territory. Some of probably the best parts of my life will
yeah.
always be the Northern Territory. So
Well,
if you're thinking about that, like moving up there, you will love it. I
yeah,
can guarantee you. You just got to accept it the way it is.
yep.
There's
Warts
a
and
lot of
all.
people. There's a lot of people that go up there and try and change things. It won't work.
No.
Um, we've seen so many people return to Melbourne just broken.
Yeah, yeah, funny. Yeah. Why don't you get on your Qantas flight and go back to Tullamarine, champ? All the best. Yeah.
Yep.
So, mate, yeah. And look, the other thing that I look back and people go, "Oh, geez, it must have been hard up there." It's like, yeah, it had its moments, but remember flying into Darwin? in December 2024. We went up there. It was bloody that. It's
Yep.
18 months ago. We flew into Darwin Airport, and I couldn't wipe the smile off my face. I remember
Yep.
looking down, seeing the Arafura Sea. We came in the other way around and wrapped in over Darwin Harbour, and then came
Yep.
in from the west. And I remember looking down and just smiling. And I looked at you, and you were smiling too. And it was just like, yes. But yeah, we're back in the NT. Like we've been down south for plenty of years by then, but to fly back into the NT was just yeah, a lot of very
It's
very good memories, mate. And a
it,
lot of
it's
hey, look, a lot of wild shit. But that's what made us who we are. There's a reason we have this
that's right.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. And mate, yeah, it's like returning home to
It
a certain
was,
extent.
yeah,
It's just yeah, it's always it will always be a part of us. And anybody that goes up there and lives there for an extended amount of time, it will feel like home. It is
oh yeah,
definitely it becomes part of you. So yeah, and mate gave us some great stories.
oh yeah, absolutely, mate.
But
That's explained the NT.
I think so.
Yeah,
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 mate. And like any other questions, but I think we've pretty much given a very good rundown. You've already heard what it's like out in a lot of the bush communities. Each one's
mm,
slightly different depending on the Aboriginal culture in each one.
mm,
But yeah, and your lack of resources. But there's fantastic. Even going bush is fantastic.
yeah,
You get to see places that no one will ever see.
yeah,
I got invited onto closed Aboriginal land just because there was a men's ceremony and we had to drive down the track and they were supposed to be done and they basically gave me permission to go out in these beautiful wetlands.
yeah,
And they said, just go out there 4 hours while the procession goes past. We're very sorry about that. And the Aboriginals are like that,
mm,
because you're not allowed to interrupt a men's ceremony or anything
no,
like that. But they were already supposed to be through and they knew me really well. And they said, just go out here. This is your land. Just
mm,
go and spend 4 hours just traveling around out there, and then we'll be gone past, and you can keep on going. So
yeah.
you get a lot of respect from the Aboriginal people as well if you work with them
Yeah,
and
yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yep,
And there are times when you can't. And the thing is, that's
yep,
where there's no homogenous group of the Aboriginal people. There's no, you work with people in the community and you solve problems. So it's
yep,
not, this is not necessarily a race issue. It's that we were there helping the dysfunction within a lot of these communities. And we had people who were holding on to us terrified, who were Aboriginal people. We had other people providing evidence going, he did this person did this, blah, 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 well, she did that, whatever. And then we had the offender who happened to be Aboriginal. It was just, you're dealing with people. It wasn't the Aboriginal people. But you're right. It's that some of the most amazing experiences, talking to the elders and being invited to see things that we probably shouldn't have seen just quietly. But,
and
it was,
mate,
yeah,
but before we move on, I just want to add one other thing. One of a lot of the stuff that, especially I suppose, civilization or civilized places in Australia blew up about was the intervention.
yeah,
And the police going in and all that sort of thing. And they're saying, oh, just brute police going in and enforcing the law and all that sort of thing. I tell you what, you ask the thousands of victims in those areas if they wanted police there or not, and
yeah.
every single one of them would just loved us being there because suddenly they felt safe. They felt like they had somebody they could stand behind when shit was going on or shit turned real. So
Yeah.
you can you from
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you
people who
mate,
really criticise that.
yeah, yeah. There was just so many, like Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and all that. People that never experienced it, and I sit there and go and
Mm,
talk to the victims we helped.
yeah.
You know, talk to those
And
kids that
more to
were
the
being
point,
abused we helped.
how negligent is a government that just ignores a report saying that the level of child sexual abuse in these communities is multiple times that of anywhere else in the country and then do nothing about it?
Yep,
I would say that is a far more heinous offence than actually doing something about it.
yep.
And, those people who argued and carried on and protested, it was, well, do you know the full story or are you protecting pedophiles? Which one?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
And
And I
and
would
look,
say, do you know the full story would be the main one, but, mate,
that's
yeah.
but well, that's the alternative, isn't it? You don't
Mm,
go out there, and kids are being abused, and women are
mm,
being abused. Yeah, mate, there is not one Aboriginal I spoke to that was not that was unhappy about us being out there. Out
yeah.
there, they loved us, and we were embraced.
Mm,
There was, of course, a bit of to and fro when it first happened, but
mm,
afterwards, and that was because some people just didn't like the police because they didn't like getting caught.
Yeah.
but every single victim loved us being
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
So you can whinge about it all you want while you're sipping your latte, but I'll tell you what, go out there and live for 6 months, and then you'll see the full story.
Yeah. Can't have a go. And not just go and be a cop because then you actually get exposed to it. So,
That's right.
yeah.
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 Yeah. If you got the guts to.
Yeah. Well, mate, I don't think we were going to talk about other things too, but we sort of pushed the time out a bit. We could probably cover that another time. But I was going to say to you, have you heard anything about a carton of the week this week, mate?
Well, actually, no, I haven't. Which is funny because we've had a lot of messages. We've been inundated with messages, especially in relation to the bravery and betrayal.
Yeah.
So we got Simon actually reached out to us
Yeah.
and said thank you very much for what we're doing, and mate, he wants us to help push a petition that's going on. It was put on from basically I think veterans from the what do you call it, Vietnam,
Vietnam. Yeah.
all that sort of thing. It's about the OSI investigation,
Yep.
and it's a petition basically because it's been going on for over a decade.
Mm.
They just got another $44 million of funding apparently in the last budget, 2026 budget, to keep on going. Now we said in the last one, an investigation that is prolonged is not justice being done.
No.
And you need to be very, mate. I hope they've got all their T's crossed and their I's dotted, because otherwise it's going to be such a waste of taxpayers' money. But the fact is, mate, ongoing. If it's that long ago, are you really doing justice from rumours?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
it's
sorry, but I've investigated some extremely complicated homicide matters. I get this is war crimes, alleged war crimes, to have occurred in a war zone that's now basically inaccessible. Maybe that's telling you something too, just quietly.
that's right.
The government completely screwed the pooch with Afghanistan because all they got was Taliban 2.0, who's actually armed to the teeth with US equipment. So why are we hunting down really minor stuff? Or I'm not saying minor, but why are we chasing scuttlebutt and all the rest of it? If it was ragingly honest, it would be there. You would have the evidence and you could press charges. I'm not saying you don't hold people accountable for criminal offences, but I'm sorry, 10 years and more years to come, and all these people who've done extraordinarily brave things on behalf of their country, how about we have an act of parliament that goes, you know what, stand down? Because at what point do we just keep flogging a dead horse? When we have people in Afghanistan who've been sentenced to death, and I know you have the details there, who are now released and free for murdering Australian soldiers, and they're just free citizens in Afghanistan. So
Yep.
maybe let's just move on from a pretty dark chapter in Australia's history where we have achieved incredible military outcomes as far as operational military outcomes, not strategic politicians. You guys screwed it. The soldiers got
Yep.
it done. The politicians completely fucked it. So let's put the problem where the problem is. Let's have some very high level people held to account, and let's put some medals on some soldiers, shall we?
Yep.
Sorry, that was a good
Because
rant, but Jesus.
mate, they did incredible things over there, and we spoke about it in the last episode. And look, honestly speaking, a lot of that stuff, get on and watch Bravery and Betrayal. It gives you such great insight. The dogs working there, everything that went on. They were just, it was formidable, the force they were up against. And they did try. Their mission was to make Afghanistan civilized,
Yeah.
with a democratic society. And obviously it didn't work, but that doesn't make it wrong. They
No.
tried. They worked their guts out, and now the government's just smashing them because of something they sent them to do.
Yeah.
So it's disgusting. So get on and sign the petition. There'll be a link on our website, on our social page. Simon's sent it through to us, and yeah, been exceptional. It's great to get in contact with people like that, because I think they did a fantastic job
Yeah.
giving an idea on what went on over there. And the fact is, you and I have been part of, well, especially probably you more so, some big investigations, and you can't drag them out over
No.
years. It's
A
just
defence lawyer
unacceptable.
would tear you 15 new assholes for this. Like at a
Yeah.
base level, if you got into court and said, "Oh, we need another extension, we need this on these investigations," and someone's being still held under investigation, they would literally go to court and say, "We want this thrown out. This is bullshit. We do not have the evidence. Bring the evidence now, or forever hold your peace." People are innocent until they're proven guilty. If you have to go for a decade with millions and millions of dollars of public funds, taxpayer money, to try your best to prove someone's guilty, I'm sorry, you're not doing your job. It's like, righto, guys, you've got till the 12th of December. If you don't come up with some charges, we're shutting this shit down. They've
Yeah.
charged two people.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
sorry. Like, I'm
And I
sorry.
guarantee you, mate, there will be so many people that have lied,
Yeah.
giving evidence or statutory declarations. And look, mate, my experience is the government don't want to touch them,
No.
which is disgusting as well. You are destroying other people's lives, people
Yeah.
that put their life on the line for their country.
Yeah.
And if you've lied, mate, sorry, you deserve to get fucked over.
Yeah.
Um, I can't stand that.
Yep. And you got politicians who do 2 terms, so do 8 years work, and they get a pension for life. So
That's right.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So let's weigh this shit up. And look, I get pretty passionate about this, but we don't need to rant and be emotional. Look at it objectively. It's just, at what point do you not have enough fucking evidence? Like,
Yep.
I'm sorry, guys. Time's up. You
Time's
run out
up.
of evidence. There is no evidence. Move on.
And
Oh,
you imagine.
no, go prove it. You can't prove it. Done.
Yep.
You don't. There's no. Well, we think these people are guilty, so keep spending money until you can prove they are. What?
Yeah. Okay. It's like they did with the Zach Rolfe, mate. They've come out with a conclusion and then tried
Yeah.
to get the evidence to
Make the
fit the
investigation
narrative.
fit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, doesn't
Who,
work.
who put the trailer in charge of the truck? Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Mate,
Anyway,
yeah,
mate.
so just keep an eye, have a look. Honestly, I'll put it out there again. Watch Bravery and Betrayal. It is exceptional. They have done a great job, and these are from people that were out there doing it. And they don't lie. They've got US on there as well, talking about their experiences with the Aussie troops and how much they helped out, loved working with them, and all that sort of. Mate, we've got three of the last prime ministers on there talking about some of their decisions and all that sort of thing. So get on there and listen to it, and also get onto that petition and sign it, because mate, enough's enough.
Yeah.
If you're not that competent, you're not a very competent investigator. If you have to take that long to do the job, I'm sorry.
No, they should have thrown the absolute weight of the AFP on this. If this was this serious, why wasn't it absolutely smashed at the time? Why? And I'm not saying at the time of the alleged offences. I'm saying, why wasn't it smashed the second that they got wind of it? If it's so important, you would have just bucketed resources onto this and done a very efficient, very effective investigation, and then gone, this is not possible. We can't do this. We don't have any evidence on this. You don't keep chipping. And look, I will also preface this and say, we don't know exactly what they're doing. We don't know
No.
what the officer or special investigator is up to. But I'm sorry, you are destroying the mental health of our soldiers by continuing when it should have been done by now. I'm sorry, if you're that inefficient, get out. Like, there's no way. Work 24 hours a day, have shifts, fly people over there, work in shifts like we used to do. Fly to a community, work for 24 hours, get the job done, and get out
Yep.
with a prisoner.
Yeah.
We're not talking about this as a couple of blokes who don't know how to do an investigation. I've done plenty. So
Mate,
I'm
I'll
not
tell
saying
you
it's
what.
not complicated. I'm just
I
saying,
wish,
smash it, get it done.
I wish we would have had $44 million on some of the bloody investigations we did.
Ooh. Yeah. Jesus.
Jeez.
Would have had flash swags, I reckon, yeah.
Yeah. But so get on to that. We will bring it up from time to time because we do want to push this. And thank you, Simon, for reaching out and getting in contact with us. It means a lot. And he said thank you for what we spoke about in relation to it. Mate, the other thing, the cricket game. We've got a change of date for the cricket out in Bloody hell, I've forgotten the name. Come on, Damo.
Avon Downs.
Avon Downs. That's it.
Avon Downs.
So yes. So basically, there's a Facebook page. We'll also link this on our socials as well. But basically, it's been changed to the 5th of September. So that's when the games are on. I know we're going to get Keith Banks is going to help out getting people there. Our mate Jake Lacey wants to make it the biggest one this year. So let's
We
get
could
out
blow
there.
'em up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could
And
blow 'em
it's a
up.
fundraiser as well. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So
And the beauty of that little exchange, mate, is I now have a carton of the week.
that's excellent.
Yeah. Or is it? Because you're the
Well,
one.
I don't know.
Well, not for you, it's not. So I'm going to issue a carton of the week for Ben Schultz for just then forgetting the name of Avon Downs Cricket Club. There we go. Oh, what's
Well,
the name of the joint again? Avon Downs. Yeah, I like it. So Schultzy can buy a carton of beer for not remembering the name
forgetting
of
the
the Avon
name.
Downs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No,
we
mate.
also we
I
don't
know.
have a we want some extra sauce on the burger. We need to hear some good stories, folks. So coppers, ambos, nurses, doctors, whoever you are, tradies, we don't care. We want to hear a work colleague who's done a cracking job above and beyond, and you reckon they
Yep.
deserve a bottle of Big Camo sauce, you let us know. So extra sauce on the burger, and you get a bottle of Big Camo sauce. How's that
That's
sound?
right. We're wearing the caps. So, yeah, Camo's going to be happy. We're
Yep.
both wearing the caps tonight. And yeah, like get onto it. Give it because he was instrumental in wanting to basically give thanks to people that do a good job.
He did. He didn't want it to be negative. He wanted it to be positive. So that's why we called it. This is something that's gone above and beyond or done something really good and just deserves a bottle of Big Camo sauce. So bloody
Yep.
let us know.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, we're at an hour and 20. We need to cut this shit off.
I know, yeah. Geez, we can talk,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, mate. Look, we've got some other exciting stuff. Honestly, we've been inundated with people to chat to and get on the show. Some fantastic people coming out. We've even been reached. We got reached out by a journalist. So we might be doing something in an article later on, which is pretty good too. So thanks for reaching out. And we've been giving a whole lot of names. There's so much stuff going on around Australia that people want us to touch on. So there's going to be heaps more coming, mate. We're not stopping anytime soon.
No.
When we first started this podcast, we didn't know where it'd end up, and now there's no end to it.
Yeah.
Because people want to hear us every week and talk about what's been going on behind the scenes. And one thing about us, like you said, we won't sugarcoat things. We'll tell it exactly how it is from our experience, from being in it and involved in it. And if we don't know something about it, we'll get somebody on that knows about it. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's we work in facts, people, not bullshit.
Yep.
So, mate, I reckon that'll just about do us. What do you reckon?
That'll do us, mate. We'll see you next week.
All right, we'll catch you then.